Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Life Warriors podcast. I'm Mary McMichael, and this is my buddy Teresa.
Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Welcome. Welcome to our community.
So, Teresa, what's on your mind today?
You know, I was speaking yesterday and I was talking about my scars. And everybody knows I've been through abuse and I have scars on my heart, mind, body, spirit. They're everywhere. And I was thinking about that. And there's a Japanese tradition, and it's called Kintsugi. Kintsugi,
Mhm.
okay? And it actually, the literal meaning is golden joinery or golden repair. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but in the Japanese culture, when something breaks, they mend it with either silver, platinum, but usually gold. And so it enhances the beauty of that piece. And I think that it doesn't matter that we're broken. It Life is asking, what are we going to do with the
We're all
pieces?
broken.
Yeah, how are we going to put it back together again? So I think I want to talk about that because, you know,
Because we're all broken.
right, we're all broken somewhere. You
So,
know,
find a way to embrace that break. Like
right,
make it
right.
beautiful with the gold. You find a way to embrace that in your own life and because none of us would be who we are today without that
Right.
trauma, whatever brokenness you have, right?
That's so true. So it's taking something that's broken that you thought was beautiful to start with, and then not hiding those cracks, filling
Enhancing.
them with life warriors courage and
Mhm.
wisdom and compassion and hope until those cracks just shine. They're worth more than the rest of it. Those cracks are worth more, and I think that's what we have to look at. So
Well, you're
you know
supposed to share your brokenness with others, which is what you and I are, what we're trying to promote here is,
mhm.
we're all struggling, we're all going through things. And to promote those, don't hide those things, but share those things. What were you talking about, the Me Too movement? What was the
Mhm.
deal with the Me Too?
Because everybody feels like they're alone. But when somebody says, "Oh, me too, that happened to me," that's when your healing starts because
A
you
bond.
realize, "Oh my God, I'm not alone. I have someone else that's been through this." And all of us have cracks somewhere, whether it's in our mind, body, soul, spirit, it's there somewhere. And I wrote down a quote: the wound is not where the story ends, it's where the gold begins. Wow.
The
So,
gold or the goal?
well, the gold,
Both?
but the goal too, and it's all about hope and realizing that, my ex, the abuser,
Mhm.
I collect Christmas balls by Diane from St. Thomas, which is my home.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And she had a workshop and she would paint these balls. They were about this size, and she would paint Christmas things on them, but they always had a little Caribbean twist, like a mermaid or Santa
Mhm.
snorkeling or whatever.
Home. Mm.
Yeah, it was. And I have a tree that sits on my island. It's about a 4-foot tree and it's covered in these balls, and I collect
Oh,
them. And I found one when I was with him when we were in St. Thomas that I hadn't, I didn't have, and I couldn't find it. And we got into, one of his major fights, and I didn't pay attention. I had the box sitting on a bookcase, and I didn't pay attention with the intention of putting it into my Christmas stuff. And I didn't pay attention to the box until I was actually packing up, and finally ending that relationship. And
right.
he had obviously opened the box and just punched the ball. It was in
Ah,
a million different pieces. And
did you gold it back together?
it was one of those that I could not gold it back together
Mm.
again. But that was kind of one of those analogies that I knew that I was like that inside. I knew my heart, my body, my spirit was like that inside. And I still have it. It's in my Christmas box. I look at it every year when I decorate my tree. But
If you have
it
all the pieces, I'm up for a challenge. Maybe I
no,
can put.
it's in probably 1,000 pieces, and some of them
Um,
are like, it didn't.
oh,
I would definitely have done it if it were, a few
yeah.
pieces, but this was a lot. But when you become broken, it's not the end of your story. When it's every crack and every scar that we have has the possibility of turning to gold. Now you're a nurse. You will understand this because I explained this to somebody once. Scar tissue is stronger than regular tissue.
Mhm.
Wow.
You
I
got to
should
have
be,
scars to be strong.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
basically what you're saying.
yeah.
And
It's
that's so
that's
true. It's so true. And but we're also talking about you have to share those experiences. And I'll give you a perfect example that what I'm feeling right now is we all know I lost my Chuck and I'm the grieving widow, but I when I'm on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, there are other people just like me saying, "Hey, are you a widow? Do you feel this way? Blah blah blah." Or I had this kind of day, and am I going crazy? And I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm like, "That's how I feel. That's how I feel." Okay, I guess I'm not so different than these other people, and so share those stories with others because we're all walking around and nobody really knows what each other is going through. Like I
well,
was
you
at
feel so alone, like you're the only person that lost their job. 7 million people are without a job right now. You feel like you're the only person that lost a spouse. I don't even know the statistics on that, but it's a lot. And, people that have been abused or whatever, 1 in 3 females and 1 in 4 males are abused. And so the you reaching out and seeing how others are, and we talked on the last episode with your mom actually about how finding groups and talking and being able to share is important, and also sharing your cracks, sharing your struggles,
we're
sharing.
humans. We're supposed to be together, not alone.
Yes, 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 absolutely. If you're healing after trauma, you're recovering from an illness, you're trying to get back to whatever you think is your new normal after losing a spouse or just going through anything. I had somebody I saw, he's on one of the social media platforms, I don't even know, and he's lost like 160 pounds and people are being mean to him. And I'm
Why?
like, because they say he looks disgusting. Well, he doesn't have the money for skin removal surgery, but he has a
Hmm.
lot of skin. But you know what? Let's not talk about the bad part. Let's talk about the great part. He has the determination, dedication, and commitment to have
He needs
lost
to
that
find
much.
his tribe, his people. Those are
Yes.
not his people.
Yeah. And that's, one of the things you and I discussed when we first started Life Warriors was being that community, being that tribe. You and I, when we sit down, I mean, goodness gracious, we have been through hell and back numerous times, not just once or twice, but
No.
numerous times. And, you might think, oh, well, it's just my dog dying. Oh, it's just losing a
Oh
job.
no.
Or, no, these are huge life changing events. Both of us are on the cusp right now, the precipice of being able to change our job situation, which I have, our fingers crossed for both of us. But losing a job, having financial struggles, all that is hurtful too. It's hard to get through.
Yeah, you were saying your identity. It's your identity. That
Yep.
piece of you is missing.
Yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
absolutely is. And it's our message through Life Warriors is that we're here. We're here to talk about anything. And I think you can tell that just in our however many 10, 11, 12 episodes we've done, we are talking about everything.
We are.
And, Kintsugi is something that is important because unfortunately, a lot of people try to push down those cracks. No, those
Hide them.
cracks are beautiful.
Throw the piece away.
Yeah, no, you don't want to throw that piece away. You want to keep it. You want to fill them, as I said, with the courage and wisdom as a warrior would. A warrior, do you remember like the gladiator movies and Vikings and whatever? They wore their scars. It was a badge. It shows what the heck they had been
Badge
through.
of honor. Yeah,
Yes. And
absolutely.
that's what I want, our community, our tribe to do, and I want you to, as listeners, share our podcast, share our shorts, share our videos to people. When I talk about domestic violence, you have so many people in the audience and they say, oh, well, I don't know anybody, I've never been through it. Okay, you walk out and you come back in, because I'm going to call BS on that one. Everybody knows someone, or possibly themselves, who has had some kind of abuse in their life. So I'm saying we need to share, we need to talk more, we need to find our people. I found somebody yesterday on Instagram, and we communicated a little bit, and she's a cancer survivor. That was the in her title. And I said, oh, me too. I said, and I was talking about you and I, how we wrote our books and how we're both domestic violence survivors. She goes, oh, me too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and here's another connection. And she was very excited to find us. And she says, I feel like I belong here. And how cool was that? That's exactly what,
That's the universe coming together. That's
and
not an
that's
accident.
right. And that's what we want. We want people to feel like they can come show up with your scars, your cracks, everything, and let's together put silver, gold, or platinum, whichever you want, in those cracks, and let's make you truly shine.
I look forward to the day that, we're a little more practiced at this, where we can have live sessions where people can ask questions or contribute, you know?
Mhm. Well, I think that's coming sooner than later. I mean, now we've started with our guests, and Travis was amazing, and then we have another special guest on Tuesday. Then I have another special guest for us the week after. So it's coming, and I am you know urging everyone, please like, follow, share, comment. Tell us, did you like the video? Did you say, Teresa, you're full of BS? Whatever. And also subscribe. And you know why you subscribe? Because you're the first person to know when we've dropped something new, the very first. So I know that your husband Chuck was really into Japanese culture. So tell everybody about that wonderful cup that you have.
That when he was a baseball scout, and he was part of the group of original scouts that before cell phones and laptops, we're talking about in the 80s. They started the scouting in South America, Colombia, Dominican, all those places. But then they also started scouting in Japan, and he just loved Japanese culture. So I've got like ivory sculptures and sumo. What are the warriors called?
Summarize.
Samurais, and I have a samurai sword, and he has his little dainty teacup. And it has that gold thing all the way around it. And I was like, oh, look, somebody dropped the cup, and they mended it with gold. And then he's the one that was telling me what that was. No, it was intentional, that he
Mhm.
told me about the little place that he bought it at. And this person, to make money, used to go around to people's trash and pick up broken pottery, because they didn't have a bunch of plastic stuff. They used ceramic, or porcelain, or whatever. And that's how they started that business. And then now they've got all this damaged goods that now art pieces. So that was really cool
Mhm.
about that.
That is very cool. Kintsugi, kin means gold, which I thought was very cool. And then suji is joining or mending. And the literal meaning is golden joinery or golden repair. And I
Oh,
just
I
think
see a kanji tattoo coming.
I have a bunch
No,
already.
I'm saying use what you just told me.
Oh, I know. I know. I was thinking that too. I was like, ooh, how cool. And they even actually on this, what I pulled up, they do have the Japanese symbols. So I got it already. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I just think that's so cool because a lot of people, nobody is perfect. Nobody gets through life. I'm sorry, unless you are living in a bubble. Nobody
Everybody's
gets through life
broken. Nah, everybody's
without
broken.
some scars, some
There's no
some
perfect
some
people.
cracks. No, no. And we need to be more like gladiators. Need to be more like warriors and don't
Well, like Travis said, our faults, our differences should be bringing us together, not separating us.
correct. Correct. Yep. A lot of people they'll see someone out, with a scratch on their face or something or maybe they don't have all of their limbs or whatever. They're warriors, and they're people that we truly have to bring into our community because
Embrace, yeah.
yeah, and find out their stories, what's going on with them. This is a true story, and I'd really like to have this person on our show one time because he is a warrior in my book. He was at the next to the gym where I was, there was a cafe and they did all kinds of, protein bars, protein shakes. And he was in front of me and he had his sleeves rolled up and he had a purple heart. I said, "Oh, excuse me, sir." I said, "Is that purple heart for you or someone else?" And he turned around and he pointed down to his leg, which was a prosthetic.
Oh,
And I
oh,
said, "Oh my goodness." I said,
thank you
I
for your
am
service.
I am I'm speechless. Thank you so much. Well, it turned out he was a Navy SEAL, the AED, lost his leg, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. And he has a really big scar on his head where a sniper took a bullet, went through his helmet. And that'll never grow unless he gets a tattoo over it or whatever. But to me, that's a warrior right there. That's a true warrior, you know?
Literally and figuratively.
Yes, yes. To me, Navy SEALs are the baddest humans on the planet. Well, they're not even humans. I feel like they've got some biomechanical stuff going on because they are just amazing. I remember when I was growing up, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL so badly and women couldn't do it at the time, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't want to be in the Navy, I didn't want to be a Marine, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be a SEAL because, as I said, I thought they were badass. I still do, you
You
know
know, back in the early 2000s, my ex went over to Iraq to work for DynCorp, and they were training the Iraqi police to be policemen.
mm,
That was the job. And so they were in these FOBs, these forward operating bases and stuff like this. And so I read a lot of books on because you're talking about war here. This is when it was all starting and they tore down the statues of Saddam and you remember the swords that are, all that
mhm,
stuff. All that was going on. All these people were, including my ex, were living in the palaces, and doing all this kind of stuff. But I did a lot of research because I knew from a medical perspective that war changes people, and I wanted to be prepared for what was going to come home because, you know, I knew he was going to be a changed person. People are shooting at you. You think you're going to die every single day, and you're over there how many years? And
sure,
especially these SEAL guys that are getting in the nasty stuff.
hmm,
I don't care how much you think they've got it together. During July 4th and the fireworks going off, and even
hmm.
somebody slams a door, they're hyper
Or a
vigilant and
backfire in a car.
all of that stuff. So kudos to our military, our police, our firefighters, our first responders. Thank you for your service is really what I see you and I know. So if that touches you, then reach out to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a guy on, again, I don't remember which platform, but he has two dogs that he served with in Afghanistan,
Oh,
and
you got to keep
that,
them.
and he kept them. And, he'll be walking, do, and all of a sudden that dog will go into work mode and start smelling this car or whatever, or a bag that's left in an airport.
Oh,
And,
oh,
he was at a playground once and the dog alerted. And he's like, and when you think about it, what do the teenagers do when it gets dark and the little kids are gone? They sit on the swings or on the slide. And
oh, yeah.
yeah.
Or depending on
So,
what state you live in, you might could do it legally.
mm, yeah, I mean, in California, you could. I don't know where, Texas? No,
No, not in Texas. No, they're
no.
even cutting back on all the CBD stuff, the
Those,
hemp stuff, which was like only 0.3%. They're even
right.
not allowing that hemp stuff. So I
I
don't know
tell
what's
you,
going to
out
happen with
here,
that mess.
the dispensaries, I think that's what they're called,
Yeah,
are
yeah.
just especially when you drive into Sacramento, are on every street corner. Every street corner. All the billboards are there, and um, it's crazy. But I agree with you. Thank you to all our first responders. If that's one of you, thank you so much. Please join us. We're here. I was diagnosed with PTSD when I came through my abuse, and the psychologist wanted to put me on medication. I was competing at the time. I was like, absolutely not. No, And then I wrote my journal, which turned into my book. And I mean, bad things, good things come out of bad things. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so Mary, you have had so many struggles in your life. Where has your gold? What has your gold turned out to be?
Just be happy, be able to keep a roof over my head and be able to help others. I get more back from helping others than I do taking care of myself. So
Yeah,
I'm a people person. That's why I
yeah,
always said I don't think I'd be very good remote. Well, except during COVID, that was convenient and it also kept me from getting it. So, but
right.
um being able to help others is my superpower. I help
Yeah.
others and you know what? The people, it doesn't even matter if it's something small or something big. People appreciate that. They remember those things and like I've told
They
you
don't
before,
remember what you say, but they remember how you made
it's,
them feel. That is
mm,
one quote that I will always remember, and it's true.
it
It's so
is true.
true. Yesterday I showed up early to this meeting that I was presenting at, and I walked in, I dropped my stuff, I said, "Hi, everyone, I'm Teresa." I went around, I shook hands with everybody, whatever, and like three people made a comment about that. They said, "Oh my gosh, you came in early. You spoke to everyone. You said our names, whatever." And they were just so appreciative of, and it didn't take anything. It's not like I did anything earth shattering,
No, well, how
but
would you answer that question that you just asked me?
the gold that came from my hardest experience was, of course, my abuse. And I can say it taught me patience. My gold is resilience. My gold is courage. I have a lot. I was always courageous. I was the one that would do something first, but I feel like I have it even more now than I did, for sure. Absolutely. Without
Never give up.
never
That's
give up. Yeah. And it made me smarter. My gold is full of wisdom and also hope. Hope that you can shine through the cracks. You can, be successful again. You can be the person you want to be again.
Have you seen any of the Madison, Kirk Russell and
Oh,
Michelle
yes.
Pfeiffer?
I love
That
Kurt
that
Russell,
that
first off.
that day that she's in her husband's truck and she's taking it back to the house and she opens up the side there and she sees his gun and so she pulls it over on the side of the road and she's got it on her in her lap and she pulls it out
Hmm.
and she's looking at it and then the sheriff knocks on the window and he was telling her that's a permanent a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was
I
like,
thought that
I'm
was
just looking at it.
really, really an impactful scene. I agree with you. That was very short, though. That was a short, I mean, it's over now, right? in
Oh, well,
Madison?
yeah, the first season, but
Oh,
they're
I
coming
see.
back.
I see.
Yeah, they're
I
coming
see.
back. So I really, I started watching that right after Chuck. I mean, it came on right after I lost Chuck. So it was kind of like a roadmap for me, or, like
Hmm.
again, somebody, even though it's a fictional person, she sharing the experience of what they're going through, this family's going through after the loss of the father. Um, it hit home with me.
Hmm. Well, and in the Madison, I don't know if everybody has been watching that, but they are extremely well off, very much
Oh
so.
yeah.
You know, he has this opulent apartment in Manhattan,
Manhattan.
and she didn't have to work, and then he bought all this property with his brother out in Montana,
Hmm.
right? In
Hmm.
Montana, hundreds of acres, I don't even know how much, and can fly planes and do this and do that, and they have private planes, and so they're very, very well off, but they still experience grief and hurt and trauma and devastation and heartbreak. And it's interesting how she goes, because he loved it there. He loved being in Montana, and
She wouldn't
he,
go because they don't have plumbing.
right, right.
They had an
And
outhouse.
right. And she's now going back and learning why he loved it so
Reading
much.
his journal, and she's like, "There's a
Yeah.
man in this book that I don't." I found a journal today on my iPad that Chuck started writing. And I
Wow.
started reading it, and so I was reading his thoughts and all this kind of stuff. I was like, "Oh my God, this is a gold mine."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And I mean, she learned how to make coffee over a wood fire. First off, making a fire was
Yeah,
monumental for her,
significant.
but making coffee. And I like how her friend comes and she's all dressed, and probably has on
Your
$2,000
Chanel.
shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she goes, "Oh yeah, you just wait and then it happens and then coffee gets like this and whatever and it tastes amazing." And like she went down to the creek and got the
Got the
water and came
water.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I thought it was amazing. I mean, I absolutely love Kurt Russell. I just think I would like to sit down and have coffee with him. If anybody knows Kurt Russell out there, I'd like to have coffee with
Oh, me
him.
too.
So, oh, well, we could go together.
Okay.
Who is somebody you would love to sit down with? You give me three people. What are three people you'd love to sit down with?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. Like that are still here?
They don't have to be here.
Um,
Not Chuck, because I know Chuck's number one.
hmm. But it can be somebody that's not here.
Of course.
Oh, of course, my dad.
Okay.
My dad, my brother, and let me pick somebody living. Give me a minute. Why don't you tell me who your three are while I'm thinking of my third?
Okay, my first would be my mom, without question.
Ah,
I lost my mom when I was in my 20s, and there's some days that I just get frantic. I'm like, oh my God, I don't remember her. I don't remember what she smelled like or felt like or how she spoke, or I get frantic. Other person I would, and I spoke to Les Brown. Everybody knows who Les Brown is. I was in his speaker academy, and he and I had a conversation in person, which was amazing, about Maya Angelou. And he said, I wish you could have met her because
oh
you
yeah.
would have loved her. I would love to have met Maya Angelou. I'd love to sit down with her and have some coffee, and because one of my favorite quotes from her is, I can be changed by what happened to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. And I love that. And that's kind of goes back into the what we're talking about today, the Kintsugi from the Japanese culture. Your cup is changed, your body is changed, your mind is changed, your soul is changed, your spirit is changed, but it's not reduced. It doesn't get ugly. It actually
Change it for
gets
the
more
better.
beautiful. It all gets more beautiful. Yeah. So definitely I would love to have a conversation with them for real.
I can't even think of who my third person would be.
It's
I
okay. I
was
only
trying to
had
think
two
of
as well.
somebody. when you got me on the spot. I'll think of it later and be like, "Oh, I should have said this."
That's okay. I would love any of our listeners if they have anybody they'd love to sit down with and tell me why. You know, if you want to sit down with Tina Turner, I would love Tina Turner is one of the people I would love to sit down with her if I could wrangle her in long enough to sit. You know, she was a domestic violence survivor. Then she ended up becoming happily married and stayed that way for quite some time. And you know, I would love to chat with her. She's a
You know
warrior.
who I think I wouldn't mind having a chat with, but really letting him do all the chatting because he would, but it would be such a joyous time full of laughter would be Robin Williams.
Oh, absolutely.
I was
And he
crushed when we lost him. He was,
absolutely. Yep.
wow. And who
Yeah.
knew how broken he was? See, that's what we
Yes.
were saying. He was this amazing comedian and actor and advocate, and he was broken inside, and it got him. He gave up.
Well, and that's someone just giving and giving and giving and pouring into everyone else and not taking care of themselves. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was on fumes. I even did a video about it. I was
Oh, me
absolutely on
too.
fumes. Yeah, it came up like a wave and I couldn't get out of it. And you know, it was everybody wanted something from me. I was being pulled in all kinds of different directions. And he made everybody around him happy, just happy. He was kind, he was generous, he was thoughtful, he made everybody
And
happy.
that
And
made him happy, but not happy enough to
yeah,
help him.
yeah. They say that people that are like that, who care a lot more than a normal person, who take care of others before themselves, it's because of a time in their life they reached for someone and no one was there. And you know, going through domestic violence, you feel like nobody's there. So
Well,
um
that I can say that that period of my life was I was ashamed. Because I knew what everybody was going to say. Why do you stay with them? Why do you stay with them? Or
why
I
didn't you
think I
leave?
yeah, and after I left the third time, I was like, there's no way I can go back to him after that. My everybody in my universe would disown me. So
Right.
that really gave me the strength to continue
Hmm.
without him.
Well, and that's what we want to do here at Life Warriors is give people strength to carry on the next day, the next hour, the next minute. You know, when you're in a domestic violence situation or going through trauma or grief or loss, it's 1 minute. You know, it's almost like you can hear the tick, 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 just getting through those couple of seconds, you know, and getting through the wave of loss or grief or unhappiness or sadness or betrayal or anything that you're going through. Definitely. I completely agree.
But
I
it's
would
a
love,
temporary problem. It
yes,
doesn't need a
yes,
permanent solution.
yes, I
You
love
need a
that.
workaround. You need a workaround.
Yeah. So I would like to do a challenge today. I would love our listeners to identify one experience that ultimately made you stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more patient. And you know, drop it in the chat. Let us know, not just us, not just Mary and I, but our community, because I can bet you there's someone else going through the same thing. So,
Absolutely.
you know, just until next time, please. My name is Teresa. This is Life Warriors Podcast. Remember, we are stronger together and we're unstoppable always.
And I'm Mary McMichael. You know me. You, you be kind, and you be happy. We'll see you around. Bye
Take
bye.
care.